So good afternoon. As we've discussed today, there's a housing crisis in this country. But when I talk about the justice gap, I'm not just talking about the number of people looking for housing or the number of people who are in an unaffordable housing and trying to fight off eviction. We're also talking about when people have access to an attorney and the number of folks who never have access to an attorney at any point during their eviction case. In Massachusetts, for example, roughly 90% of tenants facing eviction do not have an attorney. In contrast, 90% of landlords evicting a tenant do have an attorney. And those numbers only get worse when we apply them nationally. In addition, according to the Princeton Eviction Lab, in recent months, the number of eviction cases have actually surpassed pre-pandemic levels. So we have a rise in the number of evictions, and a whole segment of people that have no legal counsel in these cases. So what are solutions? What are options? Well, for about the last 25 years, we've been talking about right to counsel in eviction cases. And it simply has not happened on a scale that is effective in fighting a housing crisis. For example, only 4 states have right to counsel, which means you're guaranteed an attorney if you're a tenant facing eviction. And 17 cities, including New York City, also have right to counsel. So the movement towards what we call civil Gideon, this idea of a right to counsel in civil cases, has been slow to fruition. And so part of this research and part of this article that I'm working on is looking at the advent of ChatGPT and other large language models as a possibility for helping pro se tenants to fight eviction on their own. So what are the benefits of ChatGPT? There are 4 core legal tasks that I identified that ChatGPT can actually assist tenants with. There's research and drafting, analysis, and prediction. So research and drafting, for one, I think with research, there is a lot of time-saving capacity with using ChatGPT. We know that the software is not 100% accurate, that there are some challenges and kinks to work through. But I think with effective prompts and training, that this is a learnable skill, just like how we all learn to use Google search engine, for example. So I think this will improve over time, but we should be looking towards ways to invest in this technology to assist the most vulnerable tenants. The other part of this is cost, right? So ChatGPT is completely free, but on the flip side, it is not the most accurate of software. That is also changing because there's software like Lexis AI that's developed specifically for legal research and drafting. And with that technology, if we could make that available to tenants, that is something that would improve their odds of successfully using the tech. So in terms of limitations, we know that ChatGPT also suffers from what are called hallucinations. So if it doesn't have enough information, sometimes it makes up that information. And that's a scary thing. I mean, it's happened to attorneys in New York recently who faced a $5,000 sanction. So we also need to get stakeholders such as the courts on board to allow tenants to utilize this technology without fear of prosecution if they make mistakes. So that is the other potential. But there are also additional factors that we have to consider, one of them being confidentiality. When you're using this sort of online software, there's no guarantee of confidentiality. So there are admittedly a lot of factors that need to be considered, but I think this is something that's worth investing in and looking at. And here's an example of a prompt that I gave ChatGPT and its response. Thank you.